Hey y'all, Kenny here. Thanks for joining me for part 3 of my maple bow build. Now I've been doing some serious sanding on this bow. Between sandings, I dampen the surface and allow it to dry. That raises the grain, makes it easier to get marks out of the wood. Now you can really refine your finish or you can leave it crude. That's totally up to you. I always start out building a perfect bow, but that's not always the end result. I have a few things about this bow that I don't like. My glue joint's a bit ugly down here near the handle. Also up here on the upper part of the limb, I have an area where it looks like the grain is opened up as though there was a crack in this board, a defect of some sort. And so I'm a little bit concerned about the grain lifting here over time. So I think I'm going to serve this area with some carpet thread, and it'll act as a decoration, but it'll also hold that grain down to keep it from lifting up. So I was asked by a viewer about using the knife as a scraper and how I get that edge. So you would sharpen your knife as you normally would. Then I use the shank, I'm calling it, of a screwdriver in order to draw the burr. Now I'm right-handed, and so I pull the knife toward me when I'm working, so I want my burr on the right hand side of the sharpened edge. And to get that burr, you just take the screwdriver at about a 45-degree angle on your blade and bear down, and you'll roll that edge up. This is the same principle that you use on a cabinet scraper. Utility knife blades work well for lighter wood removal. You can put a little tape on the back side of the blade to make it more comfortable to handle. Also, razor blades work great in the finishing stage when you want to scrape out minor blemishes in the wood. So I served this section of the limb that had the problem with some red and white thread, and I did both ends to match, but I also served this area down at the handle, and this was purely for cosmetic reasons, to cover up those wide glue joints. But you know, wood is an imperfect medium, and when you go into a piece of wood, you never know what you're going to find. So there are times when you just have to adapt to the situation. So I'm going to trim all these serving ends off and burn them in, and then I'm going to get a finish on this bow. You can go primitive with your finish if you want. You can use beeswax and heat it up with a heat gun or a hair dryer and work it into wood, or you can put a modern finish on it. True oil works well rubbed on the bow, or you can do as I'm going to do and use a rattle can and spar urethane. I found that to be a really durable finish on a bow. I worked epoxy into these servings so they don't unravel down the road, and the epoxy I used gave my whites an amber tint. Just didn't look good against the maple wood, and so I used some toner that I use for sunburst finishes on guitars. It's alcohol based, and I gave it this nice golden color. If you're going to change the color on woods like maple and hickory, you need to use dye because they don't take stain well at all, and use the alcohol base so you don't raise the grain in the process. Now my handle wrap is deer rawhide. This is a hide that I stretched out on the frame and fleshed, and I just wrapped it around the handle. I put wood glue under it as I did it. The striker plate is rawhide as well, and it's glued on, and I'm just going to spray the finish right over the handle wrap. Now, I'm using Varathane spar urethane. This is a Rust-Oleum product, and it is for exterior use. It'll hold up to the weather. I'm using the satin. You could use gloss if you want, but it's a really good bow finish in my opinion. I'm excited to get it on here and let it dry, and I'll be ready to shoot this thing. A viewer tipped me off to a board bow group on Facebook, and I have spent some time there. I plan to spend more time in the future. I will tell you there is a wealth of knowledge within that group. I appreciate the tip. It is a great resource, and best of all, it's free, so check it out. Here's the bow with 3 coats of spar urethane. That quarter sawn maple really pops with that yellow toner. It makes it look somewhat like fresh cut locusts, I think. I know the spar urethane sounds a little expensive when you go to buy it at $12 a can, but that will do probably 6 bows, and I found that it keeps well, so you can save it for a later project. So all I really need to do is put a knocking point on the string here, which I have not done. I'm gonna have to eyeball that, but let's run this up the flagpole and see if it'll fly. So I'd say the bow's pretty accurate by my standards, but then all stick bows are dead accurate. It's just a matter of getting the shooter and the arrow in sync with the bow. I like the forward grip on a bow. One thing that it does is allows you to run the brace height lower, give your arrow a little more kick. I caution you against just gluing a piece of wood though on the back of a bow for a forward handle. Because there's a good chance that'll pull loose. Always sandwich it between your back and your belly wood. Again, this is not a reflex deflex bow. This is just the back and belly being glued up in 3 inches of reflex. It just gives the bow a little performance kick. It also reduces mass because you can get more draw weight with less wood when you glue up in reflex. It also significantly reduces string follow. This bow, I've shot about 50 arrows this afternoon. That's all my arthritic fingers will allow, but if I unstring it, I have about maybe 1/4 of an inch or less of string follow. Not sure if you can see that. After this bow rests for an hour or so, it'll be back to almost zero. I do like the tapered back on the bow. I think that probably will become standard procedure for me. It keeps the back more in proportion with the belly wood as you get out here near the end of the limb tip. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't seen parts 1 and 2, then be sure to check those out. Sometime in the future I may do a little video on my shooting technique. It's not exactly textbook. But it gets the job done, served me well over the years. So subscribe to my channel, and thanks again for watching.